You know what I like about Tim Sugas is the fact that he's honest. Well, for the most part, because he goes out there and he says it like it is. He doesn't go out and lie and say this and say that and try to justify things that don't make sense. He just speaks the truth. And one of the things that he's spoken about is the price tag Bathusi Aubaas. And we're going to talk about that in this video and what that means for Kaizer Chiefs. We're also going to talk about the ongoing saga RANGA CHIVAVIRO, the striker, the South African striker, I might say again, who's wanted by Chiefs but has signed for Chiefs according to our reports. We're going to look at other details that have to do with his contract and what is involved in that. Hello and welcome to Khosi Nation Fan TV. I am Pelo, I am your host, and this is where fans meet and talk about Kaizer Chiefs. Khosi Football Club. Right, let's start with the saga RANGA CHIVAVIRO. Now, remember we talked earlier on, for those of you who are not here, there is Richard Space saying he's their player because they signed a pre-contract. There is Marumuka who are saying he's their player because they had an option to extend his contract by 1 year. However, according to FIFA, former pre-contracts and these 1 year options to extend, they qualify or they work if there are details. For example, if you have 1 year option to extend for a player, then there must be details of how much money the player will be earning in that additional year that the club is extending by. Same thing with the pre-contract. If you sign a pre-contract and there are no details of how long the contract will be or how much salary the player will be getting, then that pre-contract is invalid because there are no details. So it turns out with the Marumuka, it seems like that's the situation because they did not put the specific details of how much money the player will be getting in the extra year, the option that the club had. I'm also suspecting something, Yoguti. There could be a possibility. This is me. This is not the reports. The reports say what I just said, unplayable. But my assumption is that there is possibility, Yoguti, the deadline to extend is also passed because we know Guti, there are deadlines Guti, you have an option to extend, but you must trigger that option at this certain date. And if that date passes and you haven't triggered that option to extend, then you can no longer extend the contract. That's me. That's my speculation. Anyways, we're going to move on and talk about Indaba Tim Sugas. But before we talk about that, please let me know what you think about the whole situations RANGA CHIVAVIRO. I also forgot to mention ukuthi uKalebu no Austin Dube are actually going to be included in the deal according to reports by Kickoff, but those two are going to be included in that deal because Valley Richards Space still want Utaban Dube back and uKalebu will be a replacement CHIVAVIRO because they wanted a striker and now they are selling that striker before he even plays a single game. So now they are going to take uKalebu, who we've heard he rejected a deal to move to Ukraine. I understand there is a war, so it makes sense why he would reject going there. So that's the reason why uKalebu could be included in that deal. I'm just looking and thinking, with Dube, we know Dube, if Uzwane stays as a coach, he's highly unlikely to play, but we don't know what would happen if Nabi comes. Will Dube play? And once again, why is the Chiefs making decisions about trading other players while there is potentially a new coach coming in? It's all those things. What do you think about the situation RANGA CHIVAVIRO? Also, while we're here, please make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. 60% of you guys who watch these videos are not subscribed. You're hurting my heart, hurting my heart. So please do make sure to subscribe. It helps me see which people are enjoying the content that I'm making. Right, let's move to Tim Sugas. What has Tim Sugas said? He was in an interview with Radio 2000 and he revealed Uguti there is no set price tag. I am sorry to disappoint you, but this is what he says. There is no set price tag for Abadlali. And he makes a good example because Chiefs have been saying this thing over and over again. Hey, prices change when Chiefs is buying, but other teams are getting players for this price. But I like how Tim Sugas says this. He says, if you think about it, if Chiefs comes to buy a player from Marumuka or ETS Galaxy, it's going to be 5 million, for example. But if Barcelona comes for the same player, are you going to say, hey, he's for 5 million? You get me? Because it's different from a release clause. Because a release clause, it's a specific value. And I think that's one of the reasons why ama-release clauses are there. If you don't want to go through the motions of discussing how much money the player is going to cost, you just release them from their contract by paying that certain amount. But with regards to any other price, you can negotiate it based on how much you think your player is worth, how much value is he adding on your team. So you can say, you know what, these guys can afford to pay to buy this player, so I'm going to increase the price for them. So I think, to me, it kind of makes sense, but obviously people will disagree with that because they will think it's just being crooks by team, increasing prices for other teams, but lowering prices for other teams. Because at the end of the day, think about Tim Sugazi right now. Tim Sugazi, there were talks a few months back, he was not paying his players and all that stuff. So if a team is coming in and they want to buy, and the Swallows, they want to buy Aubaas, and they're saying we have 3 million. He's not going to say no to 3 million, knowing very well Guti he got to Aubaas for free. He's going to sell him for 3 million. But knowing Guti Chiefs has 5 million, he's going to say, no, I want 5 million, I want 7 million, because I know Guti can afford that. So pay me for that to compensate me for the player that I have. So Guayana, he's a businessman who knows Guti. At the end of the day, it's business. And if you know good someone has money, then get that money from them. So it doesn't make sense to me. Well, it makes sense to me, and it doesn't make sense to me why we're always complaining about Tuguti prices get increased when it comes to Chiefs, but that's not the case. But that's not where I'm at. I am here at 10. If you look at Aubaas, he's 28. He's a CDM, right? And the thing is, Edson Castillo, the Chiefs have signed him and it's going to be announced in the coming weeks, but he played mostly as a central midfielder. And he would fit as a box-to-box midfielder, which means we still don't have a traditional defensive midfielder. What does that mean? It means there's still a hole that needs to be filled. And we saw how much that affected the Chiefs as a whole last season. We didn't have a defensive midfielder. Blom left, that hole was left. You see, so now Edson Castillo is going to come to Chiefs, is going to help the Chiefs, but we still need a defensive midfielder. And right now, the talks with Usbong Senimtetwa, the Chiefs apparently submitted a bid. Stellenbosch didn't accept that bid, and the Chiefs are trying again because they know that Stellenbosch might want to sell the player because the player is going to his last year contract yake, and in January, any team can sign him on a pre-contract. However, Stellenbosch, if the Chiefs ends up failing to sign Umtetwa, they can just say, look, we're doing really well in the league, depending how they do in the league as well. And they say, look at the Chiefs are probably going to go there and sit on the bench. Sign an extended contract. And then you say, Guti, it's also up to how Stellenbosch convinces Usbong Senimtetwa. So on that side, it's not going so great. So if it's not going so great, and you have Castillo, who's not a defensive midfielder, who can play as a defensive midfielder. And also, what's most interesting and nice about Indabaga Aubaas is that, yes, it's business, and Tim Sugazi wants to sell his best players because he wants to get some money. But you must also remember, Uguti, there's still that beef between him and Pirates. You remember what happened when they didn't want him to enter the stadium. On top of that, Isafa made a mistake and listed Aubaas as a Pirates player. Maybe it's going to happen, I don't know. So there is just that kind of bad blood nyana between him and Pirates. And I'm sure Uguti would rather not sell abadlali bakhe there unless, because he's already sold the goalkeeper to Pirates. But I don't think that's always his first choice, because as much as it's business, it's not personal. But if you have someone you don't like and someone you like or prefer, they are both wanting the same player, I'm sure Guti Chiefs can use that to their advantage and actually go and sign Aubaas. And the Pirates right now, kusathulegile, sisabuka nje ukuthi what's going on, because remember they signed Namkhohlwa from Amazulu, a defensive midfielder. They have Utim, Umusele is also there, and abaga deciding Mtwari, no, yabona nje. So the Pirates does have a defensive midfielders, and I don't think they are prioritizing Aubaas at this time. So there's that situation. And also Santa was not looking to sign Aubaas. SuperSport just signed Unange, so they are strengthened in that position. So Chiefs are actually the team that can go out and sign Aubaas, because it looks like they can do that. So I would be interested to see, is the Chiefs going to continue pursuing Usbong Senimtetwa until they get him, or are they going to change their approach and just go after Aubaas at this point? What do you think about this entire situation, Aubaas and RANGA CHIVAVIRO? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, Remember, ikhosi alipheli umoya.